Rugby Championship team of the tournament for 2025, folks. There's a bit of a belated one. I probably should have done this on Monday, but I wanted to take some time to rewatch a bit of footage and run some numbers to compare the guys who were my gut feeling with what some of the stats and whatnot said. I have changed some of my gut feeling picks based on some of the numbers. We'll go through 15 starters. We'll go through a quick bench as well. Pick team of the tournament, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on who you would be picking if you were picking the team of the tournament. I am going to start with, I think, three guys who were pretty far and away the easy picks that I think, and I've deliberately not been looking at other people's team of the tournaments because I don't want to be influenced by anyone else, but I feel like if you look at other people's team of the tournaments, these guys are all going to be pretty straightforward picks. Ox and Jay, if you watched the Rugby Championship in its entirety, you would have seen this guy demolishing opposition tight heads. I think he's easily the best loose head prop, and it's such a crazy one in South Africa that, like this, in recent times, you've not seen Franz Malherbe on the tight head playing. You've had Stephen Kitsoff retire, and the scrum still continues to destroy other teams. Ox only conceded one penalty the entire comp, had 68 meters, 19 carries, which is a great return, had a line break, but it's the scrum. This guy is eating other props for breakfast along with the cake that he has to finish it off, but amazing player. Amazing player. What can I say? He just looks quite incredible. Another South African guy, and there's going to be a few South African guys in this team. Sasha Feinberg Ngomazulu, I feel like, took his Springboks career to another level. Obviously, he did by breaking that record against the Pumas in Durban. But the good thing about him is, I feel like, is if you watch the second game where he's not going to get the same plaudits because he's living in his own shadow from the week before, he was still bloody good. He's kind of at that level. I know it's only 2 games, but he was kind of at that level where you feel like, maybe he was a bit quiet. But actually, if you run the numbers, he was still bloody incredible in that second game as well. Still was one of the leading guys in many categories for that game. Like for the Rugby Championship, he had 3 tries, which is not far behind the top guys who had 4. He had 20 defenders beaten, which is first of the entire competition. He had 279 meters, which is first of the entire competition. It's usually fullbacks who get that, not 10s. He had 6 line breaks, which is first equal of the entire competition. Dude's a freak. Broke the point scoring record in that game against the Pumas, but yeah. Like guys like Dupont, and at different positions, Dupont, Savia, Peter Steptoy, these guys are all ones who sometimes you think didn't do as much as normal, but because they're setting the bar high, it feels at times like they're quiet, but actually their quiet standards are still above most people's other standards, if you know what I mean. So, still early days in his career, but I do feel like he took it up a level with some of these performances in this Rugby Championship. And another guy who I feel like was kind of outstanding in his position and will probably beat out most opposition for that spot is Joseph Suaalii for the Aussies. He's not got a complete game by any means. Like I think defensively, he's still got some work to do, but dude is a freak. He's 4 tries makes him first equal with Malcolm Marx for the entire competition. He had a bunch of defenders beaten, a bunch of line breaks, winning turnovers. Like his tackle percentage, as I said, needs work, but his touches on the ball, able to set up guys around him, his ability in the air, he is an amazing, amazing player. And I think, like, outshines, who else played in the midfield? Like Moody, Proctor. I mean, Sinti's maybe the closest from Argentina. But Suaalii, I still think, is pretty far and away the best 13 of this Rugby Championship. Some of the guys who were maybe a little bit closer run, but I still picked with pretty confident ease. Malcolm Marx in that Springbok front row. Mostly the line out was okay, which is always the one area of his game where you feel like you would like to see it more consistent. I haven't done his numbers week on, week out, but yeah, when it goes right, it's such a platform for the box. But 4 tries, first equal for the competition. He's a try-scoring machine, and his thing that sets him apart, and I've talked about it before, is his ability to break down. I don't think any of the other hookers in the competition have the ability like he has to get over the ball. Dude won 4 turnovers in this Rugby Championship, 100-plus meters, 6 defenders beaten. He did get a yellow card. His tackle percentage would have been nice to be a bit higher. I do feel like He had some competition from the likes of Montoya, the captain for the Pumas, who plays a lot of minutes. But I do feel like Malcolm's got a bit more of an X-factor game than Montoya, so he gets the spot. Likewise, this guy, I'm putting him at 6, even if he wears 7 for the box, but blindside flank. Pieter-Steph du Toit. Again, he's another one that can look quiet. And it's interesting that in this Rugby Championship, his game was not the traditional Pieter-Steph game, which is heaps of tackles, making the opposition guys uncomfortable by getting up in their faces, either making them rush passes or make errors or just smoking them before they can get rid of the ball. It wasn't just that kind of stuff. And he's perhaps benefiting from the fact that the Boks are playing with a lot of possession in recent times. And they've gotten him to do a role which has not been his traditional role. And it's great to see a guy's game have, more than one string to his bow. He's not just that defensive high work rate power horse guy. Power horse? Workhorse? Powerful guy. Like most offloads of any forward in the Rugby Championship, that's not been Pieter-Steph's traditional game, but they were getting him to do it. He still had the 43 tackles. He's still winning lineouts consistently, but a couple of tries, 4 line breaks, the most of any forward, 186 meters, beating 7 defenders. Like his offensive game for a blindside flanker was cracking. Like I wanted to see how Kremer would compare to him because I felt like Kremer was the most outstanding loose forward from Argentina in a team which has got some bloody good loose forwards in it. And Kremer definitely is the tackle machine player. But I do feel like Pieter-Steph had a bit more to it than Kremer, although Kremer was also outstanding. Those are, the first 5? Here's a guy who I changed my mind. Open side, Ardie Savea. I initially had Fraser McCreight because I felt like that guy was just exceptional for the Wallabies. But looking at the numbers, I changed my mind. I changed my mind to Savea, and perhaps I'm a little bit guilty of underrating Savea because he usually sets exceptionally high standards. So even when he's kind of quiet by his own standards, he's still very, very good. Like him compared to McCreight, Savea's got more line breaks, more defenders beaten. Like defenders beaten was 16-3. It's not even a contest. More run meters, 188-78. And then the areas where you feel like McCreight is a proper unit, like his tackles, he surely made more than Ardie, but Ardie had a better completion rate. And the breakdown steals that McCreight is so well known for, they evened out. It was 8 apiece. 8 apiece. So Ardie had fewer tackles, but he's still New Zealand's top tackler. He's winning turnovers and his go forward ball. He's got the most carries of any forward in the Rugby Championship. So Ardie, sorry, I maybe overlooked you a wee bit this Rugby Championship. You're still an exceptional player. Another one of the Bok guys in the locks. We're going to go with Big Eben Etzebeth. And again, he's maybe one that I wasn't sure who I was going to pick in the locks because there's been some good locks. There's been a bit of rotation in terms of guys coming in and out of the squad. But Eben has a heap of good numbers as well. Like he's South Africa's top lineout guy, which is not always his role. You usually think of Eben as the kind of big enforcer, but he can do the lineout stuff as well. He scored a try. And then he's also got the offload game going as well. So him and Pieter-Steph, they're getting this big ball carries out of them to crash the ball up and then offloading the tacklers. Like multiple guys have been drawn in to tackle them. They did that really well. 89% tackle completion rate with 6 dominant tackles, scored a try, 31 carries. Did concede 5 penalties, but yeah, Eben also had a very, very good Rugby Championship. As I said, he's potentially another one who gets a little bit overshadowed by his own shadow because he has traditionally been such a good player. I'm going to go with another one of... Have I got any of the Pumas guys on the board yet? I'm going to chuck Juan Cruz Malia here. Mostly played fullback. So I've gone with a little bit of a cheeky shift for him to the left wing. But he did play left wing as well. He's been very, very consistent in a Pumas back 3, which apart from like scoring a heap of tries, did everything else. He chews through the run meters. He had the most carries in the Rugby Championship. He was great under the high balls. He had 12 defenders beaten. He had a heap of passes. He was the top offloader. 5 line breaks, his second equal in the entire competition. 337 run meters is first. It is above Sasha. Sasha was second. So Malia, I don't feel like gets the kudos he deserves. The guy is exceptional in many, many categories. I think if he was playing for the Box or the ABs, he would potentially get more praise than he is getting. And for the other back three guys, which was competitive, I chucked old Jorgensen in here on the right wing. He was by no means my gut feeling pick. I wasn't sure who I was going to pick. I was thinking maybe Colby. Let's have a look at Leroy Carter's numbers. He scored 3 tries in 3 games, but Max Jorgensen scored 2 tries, which is not as much as some of the guys who scored 3 or 4, obviously, because that's how numbers work. But 6 line breaks is first equal. 17 defenders beaten is third overall equal, and the most from any Australian player. And 267 meters is third overall behind Malia and behind Sasha. So Jorgensen was a proper weapon. They forced him to switch to kind of fullback with injuries. I do feel like he's a bit better on the wing. He's a young talent, and he certainly looked the business in the Rugby Championship, which means I've rounded out the back three with Will Jordan from the ABs. Certainly had some issues under the high ball. That's why I'm kind of picking these back three guys late. Like, I think if you wanted a solid as a rock under the high ball 15, you probably go for Malia because he was way better in that regard. But still, I think he did actually get a little bit better under the high balls as the competition went on. Maybe a bit late to get us a Rugby Championship title, but he still scored a try. He still had 18 defenders beaten, which is second. He still had 6 line breaks, which is first equal. He still won a couple of turnovers. His meter count was only 2 behind Jorgensen, so he's like 4th overall. He was kind of Johnny on the spot at times. I feel like at times he gets himself a little bit isolated when he gets tackled because he's so far ahead of the rest of the ABs guys, but he is still a weapon on attack, even if he, by his own standards, was a bit kind of lower than normal. So that's your back three. They've all played fullback. They've all played on the wing. It's a bit of a hodgepodge, but there you go. 12 is one that I changed. I went with Chocobates. I don't think I picked Chocobates for a single team of the week. I kept picking Ikitau. Ikitau was far and away my top pick for this position. But looking at the numbers across the season, I went for Chocobates. I feel like it's a flip of a coin, him or Ikitau. Chocobates has got a higher tackle percentage, which is good in a position like 12. He had more run meters than Ikitau. He had fewer cards than Ikitau, fewer penalties conceded. He's got better ruck arrivals numbers, but he's got fewer defenders beaten. Len had 2 more, and Len has more touches. Len gets into a bit of everything, Johnny on the spot, playing halfback and whatnot. But yeah, it's a shootout between him and Chocobates. I went with Chocobates. Defensive numbers for a 12. I feel like Len's numbers were genuinely a wee bit low. Chocobates, I feel like, was a key part in an Argentina midfield between him and Cinti, which looked really, really, really good. Rounding out the rest of the guys, Fabian Holland from the ABs, I feel like was a bright spot on our campaign. Line-out time. He's such a good option because he's a proper bit of tall timber. We've lacked a proper 2+ meter guy for a wee while. He is that guy. Like 34 line-out wins is first. The next best guy in the entire competition has 20. So talk about the All Blacks getting the most out of that guy. And he's a tackling machine. 66 meters, only concedes 1 penalty. So Fabian Holland was a very good player for the All Blacks in the Rugby Championship. Another Bok, Corbus Reinach, kind of almost gets this one by default because he was able to play pretty much consistently for the entire competition, whereas everyone else was chopping and changing due to injuries. Yeah. So Corbus, I mean, still, I don't want to take away from him. 3 tries, second equal, couple of try assists, very consistent selection. Didn't get as many like run meters and whatnot as you would have liked. I think he blew at least 1 or 2 tries by knocking the ball onto the back of the ruck, but I don't want to take away from the fact that, you know, he is your main 9 in the campaign, which saw the Box go back to back. That's like, if he's not getting his job right, then it's not going to be a successful campaign as it was. I still like Grant Williams if I was going to pick him. I feel like Grant Williams is more lightning quick and maybe a better threat overall, but and Cam Roygaard for the ABs is a proper contender if he plays more games, but Reinach was very consistent. Thomas Dutoy, part of that Springbok front row, which was demolishing other packs. Got to give him some credit. He doesn't have the same penalty count numbers that Ox has. Ox only conceded the 1. Like, he had 5, which is not as pretty, but it's a team effort when you're demolishing scrums, and Thomas Tutoy is certainly a big part of that. Around the park, 34 tackles, 29 meters, 17 carries. Still got some good numbers. As I said, it's mainly for the scrum that you're picking him. And then number 8 was a really hard call. I ended up going with Wilson. Believe it or not, I feel like the other guy you could pick is Oviedo, because that guy was demolishing guys on the ball carry. If you just want a number 8 to come off the bench and smash some bodies, I know you might think Jasper Wiese, but Oviedo's numbers were quite incredible for the Pumas guys. So I went with Wilson, though. He's got some great lineup numbers, one of the best guys, especially for a loose forward. He scored a couple of tries. He's putting kicks through as well, so he's got like things that a number 8 is not usually known for. He's got a couple of turnovers. He had close to 200 run meters. He did have a few missed tackles. He did have a few too many penalties conceded and whatnot, but I thought he led the Wallabies really well and is overall pretty bloody good player. That's your starting 15, kind of in the order I picked them. There were a few changes, like I said. If I'm picking a bench, I want to say Montoya based on the overall campaign for the reserve hooker, so I'll give it to him. But if you wanted like a specialist impact bench hooker, you're probably realistically more looking at the likes of a Takiaho, because that guy seems to be built for impact from the bench. Props, I think you just go with Fenter and Lowe from the box, because again, these guys came off the bench and still demolished opposition scrums, so it'd be hard to go past them. Lock, you got heaps of options. I quite like Nick Frost in terms of his ability to also win line-out ball, also really busy on the tackle. So him, and then loose forward replacement. I mean, I'd love to go Kremer because he is an absolute tackling machine. I feel like he was the standout loose forward, so I'll go with Kremer. But I think if you were picking a guy, you want impact, you want tackles busted, like I said, Oviedo or potentially a Wiese. Number 9 replacement, I think, has to be Roygaard. He only played 2 games, but he was incredible. His defenders beaten count for 2 games is bloody impressive. Iki Towers, your other, your midfield bench replacement. He was Mr. Everywhere for the Wallabies. And then Geordie Barrett, I think, had a pretty good campaign, especially as the campaign dragged on. I think he did really well, and I think he can cover so many positions. So if you're picking it practically, he can cover many a position, 10, 15, wing, and whatnot. So, yeah, team of the tournament. As I said, a bit belated, but I did want to have a look, crunch some numbers, and pick some guys that I myself wasn't sure I would be picking, question my own self based on the numbers. You guys let us know your thoughts. It was a cracking competition, one of the greatest, I think, rugby championships with all the unpredictability. But interestingly, it kind of finished quite predictably. I was talking to Graham from the Rugby Forecast algorithm the other day, and it's like, yeah, it basically went results-wise by the end according to the predictions. Like, no one was picking Ellis Park to happen. No one was picking the All Blacks to get beaten by a record margin. But, like, the Boks to finish first, to split their games with the All Blacks and whatnot, pretty much went according to the script. So, yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Subscribe if you haven't done so. Take care. Bye-bye.